So I got snowflakes falling beautifully. But I got this idea. What if instead of the snowflakes falling from the top to the bottom, they moved from the center to any of the edges, or not directly to the edges, but like in a circle outside following the radiance, if you like. And I do know how to move in any direction using the wonderful tools of the Math package. So now I just need to start the snowflakes in the center, calculate a random direction, and get them moving. So let's get going. Find the center. The center. The center x value would be half the width of the canvas. And the center y position would be half the height of this very same canvas. Just for fun, let's create each snowflake with this center x and center y, and not use the x and y here, but rather in the constructor an x and a y value, and they use it for setting this x would be x and this y would be y. Now they all move from the center. They still move down, we want to move them in a random direction. So let's calculate a random direction. This direction, that would then be a random number between 0, and since it's in a circle, and the circle is 2 pi, we will say math pi times 2. That will be a random direction in any way around the circle. We still need to respect this circle when we move, so rather than just adding the speed, we multiply the y position with the sine of this direction, and we multiply the x position. We take again the speed and multiply that by the cosine of this direction. Now we got moving in any direction. There's a problem here, we change the direction when they drop. So we don't want to check if y is bigger than the height. Well, yeah, that's maybe one way. We can also say, or it's this y, they could also go upwards, is smaller than 0. Or even say it could be the x position that was getting larger than the stage canvas width, or the x position could be smaller than 0. If any of those happen, then the star would be outside the canvas, and we need to reset it to the center. So how do we reset to the center? We forgot about the center. We gotta remember it. So say this center x is x, and this center y is y. And then when we reset the star, say this x is the center x, and this y is center y. Now we got kind of Starfield. Looks a bit odd. The stars are a bit too big and a bit too sharp. So let's fix that. Start by setting the size. That should be able to be anything from 1 to say 5, and the speed will kind of be the same from 1 to 5. Maybe even make it smaller, so 0.1 to 5. So we got some slow stars moving, and we got some bigger one. They're still a bit too sharp. I want to make them like with a blurred outline, and we can actually do that because rather than using begin fill with a pure white color, Create.js has this function here, begin radial gradient fill, that takes an array of colors, an array of radius, and x and y and r, that's radius, for one circle and x and y and radius for another circle. It's a bit complicated, but it makes sense when you go through it, I'd say. So let's start with just copying all of this. Begin radiant fill. Pasting it in here. We want to begin a radiant fill. And then the first thing would be an array of colors. If we have color here, red, blue, that's the color we want to fade from and to. And we want the colors to fade from pure white to the dark blue. So let's do that. An array. Here we have the white color, we fade from, and we fade to the dark blue color. And then we decide where should they be positioned. If we look again, here we say the ratios, an array of gradient positions which correspond to the colors. 0.1, 0.9 would draw the first color to 10%, then interpolating to the second color at 90%. We want the white to be at 0% and the dark blue to be at 100%, so we add the array as such, say we go from 0 to 1. Let's move it a bit to the left here. Now we need to set this x and y center position of the inner circle that defines the gradient. That's where we want to start the gradient from. For us, since we want to fill this circle, it makes sense to have a circle of radius 0 in the exact center. So that would be an x value of 0 and a y value of 0 and a radius of 0. That's the one. Then we need the other circle, the outer circle that defines the gradient. It should be at the exact same position, x and y, but the radius should be the same as the size of our star. So that would be 0, this size. So now we have a gradient that goes from white at 0% to dark blue at 100%, starts in the center with a radius of 0 and ends again at the center with a radius of the same as our star size. Delete this one. Now we should be able to see. Now the stars are much more star-like.